like clear racism. Like one of the most racist things I've ever seen. We've been talking about this for how fucking long? Academia is going downhill. The fucking nose spiraling, about to fucking hit the earth. But start with the Harvard and, segregating a separate black graduation. All these,
I thought we were past the direct form of racism, just yelling out fucking a nationality and saying power afterwards.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we've been talking about this racism, and it's been sort of like low-key racism, and now it's evolved into
just
actual
clear racism.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, well, I thought we got at least past this, we could recognize the difference, but apparently not. What is Evergreen College?
Evergreen College? It has spiraled to a point where they don't even care anymore. They don't mind looking racist. The black students have all joined up to make No Whites Day and going around the school and trying to kick out white teachers and students because there's no white day. Imagine we did no black day. No, look at this shit.
You're going to go around and kick out other students who are paying the same tuition as the black students and demanding that those students not be here.
And the teachers who are trying to educate you, you fucking retard.
The teachers you're paying tuition so that they can teach you. You want them out.
And they wonder. They're astonished why when they're finished school they can't find jobs. It's because you're racist. Harvard University, the place that used to be, considered one of the most brilliant Ivy League schools in America, right?
Is now the worst piece of shit.
Literally bringing back, I know that word's tossed around like fucking AIDS at a whore's bachelorette party. I don't know. It's being tossed around, but this is literally segregation.
At its finest. There's no other way you slice this. It's segregation.
They have decided to have, and it's been done, it's passed, to have a black-only graduation ceremony. They are calling it progressive to segregate black people from accepting their diplomas or whatever they got, their bachelor degrees, whatever the fuck they have.
Doesn't matter at this point.
Masters, separately from the whites. Guys, what's next? Water fountains?
Yes, I'd expect it. I'd expect now that it's a black-only water fountain.
Yeah.
I want that now, yes.
See,
that makes the most sense.
Yeah, this is the definition on regressive. We called it regressive. It's been coined by a lot of people, but it's been a popular word because progressive is progressing. Regression, like when we had separate water fountains and black people were on the back of the bus only, that is returning, but this time with graduation ceremonies.
It boggles my mind how you have like full-grown adult academia people who can't see this. How dumb do you have to be to realize that this is a step backwards?
Yeah, and let's think.
I want to start this video with a disclaimer. I do care about the suffering of white people. I've said it on this channel before. I care about white people suffering in poverty, people suffering from drug addiction, white people who are economically disadvantaged, victims of corporate capitalism. That being said, I am always going to call out the concept that white people are victims in the social sense that non-white people have been victims in North America in the last 100 years. I'm not even going to go back to chattel slavery. I'm going to basically go back to like Jim Crow era. That hasn't happened to white people, not even at the most progressive colleges. Cultural Marxism is not a threat to white social privilege, and yes, even Trailer Park Joe has white social privilege. If Trailer Park Joe gets stopped by the police and he's got a motherfucking AK-47 in the trunk, he probably has a better chance of making it to a jail cell alive than Philando Castile getting stopped with a legally licensed gun who gets executed for pulling his wallet out. So, no, white people do not have necessarily inherent economic privilege because there are a lot of poor-ass white people in North America. But white people do have inherent social privilege, and no, social racism against white people is not an epidemic problem. There is no demographic replacement. The immigrant population of North America is not coming here with nefarious intent. If anything, the immigrant workforce coming into North America is being used as a truncheon against, as a two-pronged assault by upper middle class to wealthy white people against working class white Americans, meaning that the two-prong fucking over of the white working class is a bunch of rich white guys outsourcing jobs to third world countries, and the ones they can't outsource, they create little loopholes and use undocumented labor to undermine all union labor, but de facto it also fucks over the white working class, which highly, especially during the golden age of the 1950s, was very, very dependent on unionization, collective bargaining agreements, and protectionist economic policy on manufacturing. Why am I doing all this prefacing? Because I'm about to go in on a YouTuber named Andy Warski, and I don't want to get accused of not being able to comprehend that white people have problems. I just, his channel is part of a right-wing media complex that has existed for a long time, and particularly started to flare up around the mid-20th century civil rights movement, and to an extent also has been around, if you want to include the nativist movements against Italian, Jewish, and Irish immigrants in the early 1900s. This, the white man is a victim. The white man is not a victim of other wealthier, whiter, not a victim of other wealthier white people who already have established positions of power because of the structures of apartheid, particularly in the United States of America. No, it is in fact the immigrant, the migrant worker, the colored people, as they would have been called in the mid 20th century. All these moral failings of the black community, the white man's burden, all this bullshit. So Andy Warski has a YouTube channel where every other video virtually. What's fascinating is the primary antagonist of the Warski channel is Francisca Ramsey. And Francisca Ramsey is a great YouTuber who has ascended into big mainstream status as a progressive, and as a sort of self-identifying SJW. She really claims it, and she really defends the political importance of social justice, and sort of takes the piss out of people who use it as a way to shame or embarrass other people. So, do I think that Andy Warski is a bigot or a white supremacist? No. No, I think that Warski is a standard right-winger. I think that every right-wing political narrative, if you are going to make your money appeasing a right-wing audience, you have to endorse a narrative that is in line with the following. And this is not me accusing Andy Warski of being a Nazi, but these 14 words encapsulate the political philosophy of white victimhood that has fueled and will continue to fuel ad infinitum the right-wing narrative about the struggle of the white man, okay? We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. You don't gotta say the 14 words. Gavin McInnes got away with saying 13 of the 14 words and subbing in Western for white children to show that he was a xenophobe but not racist. You know, I found Warski's channel's narrative about whites being victims of progressives on college campuses a little obnoxious, but until now I didn't make the decision to really go in on him until two recent developments. Number one, a YouTuber named Rage After Storm went full race realist, and Warski used his platform to call her out. And I wanted to give him credit for that, but I can't. And I'll explain to you why I can't give him credit for that. Rage After Storm didn't become a race realist overnight. Her videos contained, you know, sort of these dog whistles and loopholes. There's a philosophical continuity about white victimhood on her channel, and it is not far from the story that Andy Warski monetizes about white victimhood. Cultural Marxists are a threat to white babies. The white man is the one who's really oppressed by progressive, the liberation of black people, the civil rights movement, feminism. The advances made by these progressive causes are at the expense of innocent white men who work for everything they have and have never been handed anything and aren't responsible for anything. None of their inherited wealth can be traced back to slavery or apartheid. None of their existing privilege, from having better credit scores, to getting into college more easily, to getting a mortgage more easily, to the whole panoply of ways that legacy racism empowers white people in North America, and particularly the United States, because we have not been separated from apartheid by law for even a century, let alone it hasn't really been super long since Reconstruction and since black people were classified as human beings and not agricultural cattle. So, Andy Warski's a problem, and in his most recent video that I'm aware of, he bought into a fake article by Medusa magazine that talks about a feminist who wants to solve the race crisis by exterminating white babies and advocating for white women to abort fetuses to achieve social justice for people of color. Now, any critical person, and particularly someone who claims to be a member of the skeptic community, you think would do some basic diligence, some basic vetting before he does a white genocide video, considering that the week before he crucified a member of his community for talking, engaging in the white genocide narrative about blacks being genetically inferior to whites. But the irony, I guess, missed Andy Warski and he just literally followed Sargon's law and read a headline that fed the narrative of his channel, and then pursued the last dog whistle. He crossed over that final line into conspiracy theories about how progressives in coalition with civil rights activists are planning a eugenics program for white people, which is completely absurd on the face. And I'm not saying that some random blogger somewhere hasn't made this kind of Swiftian proposition somewhere. I'm sure if you dig up somewhere on the internet, you'll find some fucking radical feminist nut job that says that white men should like self-delete or something like that. I don't endorse something like that, but I'm sure you can find a fucking nutcase. But to go to an obviously satirical website, for someone who calls himself a skeptic to get like fucking bamboozled by the equivalent of The Onion or Clickhole, and then when he's informed that the site is bullshit, he leaves the video up there to continue monetizing and exploiting this idea that white babies are under assault and that there's an extermination program being planned in the darkest corners of the progressive Illuminati. Illuminati. So, Warski's channel has been a problem, and now that it's gone full white genocide, I think it's going to continue to escalate and be a problem. Unless he's willing to let go of that right-wing political dollar, he is going to keep having to. He's going to keep on having to find ways to keep spinning plausible deniability while still serving. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children.